Friends, thank you for coming here. We welcome you to this town hall. Sorry, let me get my clicker here. Brought to you by Silicon Slopes and Promise2Live. I am Dr. David Morgan. I am a licensed psychologist and the Director of Mental Health Awareness for Silicon Slopes. And very grateful to be here. Thankful that you're here as well to talk about these issues. One of the most important things that we can do with mental health is to continue the conversation, keep talking about it. Things happen in our lives that kind of bring it to a forefront. We talk about it for a while, and then it slides back on the back burner. If we can keep it on the front burner, we're going to do much, much better over time. We're very grateful to have, Kirk Duncan. He's the president and founder of 3 Elements, and Richard Godfrey, who is the founder of Avec-me, and they'll be speaking to us later. Brandy Vega, who is the CEO, founder of Promise2Live, is currently on a Zoom call. She'll be joining us here in just a few minutes. We'll be grateful to have her as well. So I wanted to talk to you real quickly, just as we begin, as we talk about connection. Back in the 1950s, psychology was pretty basic as far as I'm concerned when I think about that. And they thought that unless you could measure it and quantify it, then it didn't really exist. So the idea of love and connection was just kind of a myth. They said, this doesn't really mean anything. But this psychologist named Harry Harlow, in the late 1950s, he says, you know what, I'm going to try to study this. And this was way back before they had institutional review boards, ethics commissions, things like that. So they got away with a lot of things that we could never get away with today. So what he did for his study was he got these rhesus monkeys and he separated from their mothers shortly after birth. Then he created 2 surrogate monkeys that you can kind of see up there. One of them, the one on the right there, is just a wire frame, got that little face on it, and it provided nourishment. It gave milk. So the monkey could get up on that thing and suck from a nipple and get nourishment. The other one had terry cloth. It has kind of a better face. It was warm, had like a heating element in it, but it didn't provide any nourishment. And so what he thought was, okay, well, these baby monkeys, if they don't eat, they'll die. So clearly they're going to prefer the wire mother because that's the one that gives them nourishment. Well, what the monkeys did is that they would go to the wire mother to eat, and they would immediately go to the terry cloth mother after that. And they would snuggle up with these terry cloth mothers for hours and hours and hours. When they got hungry, they'd switch back to the wire mother and then go back to the terry cloth mother. He continued his study, and he would put the monkeys in a room that was unfamiliar to them. They had a bunch of different things to explore, and I found the monkeys were terrified of doing it. But when he would put the terry cloth mother in the corner of the room, then the monkeys would go explore more. They would look around, they would venture further, and then they would kind of look back at their surrogate mom there to see if everything was okay, and then they look more and more. This idea of being connected is just built into us. I was talking with some new friends at before the meeting just about how if we can learn to better connect with others, I think we can solve a host of mental health issues. So many things happen either because we are not connected or we're poorly connected with other people. But if we can get healthily connected, then I think we're going to be in much better shape. So grateful to those who are going to speak to us today and help us better understand this. Just a couple of statistics here. 19 out of 23 research studies showed that feeling socially connected was associated with decreased depression symptoms. I assume the same probably holds for anxiety. And people reporting good social connections also report high self-esteem, greater empathy, and more trust in other people. Can't hear me? Who can't hear me? Okay, that's better. Maybe they just turned it up, or maybe I'm holding it closer to my mouth. I need you like on American Idol, right here, like this? Okay. Who wants better self-esteem, greater empathy, and more trust in other people, right? And would our society be like that? Or would our society be like if we could become like that? So that's what we're going to talk about today. At Silicon Slopes, we are striving to provide more mental health resources. That's the purpose of these monthly town halls. We have a mental health podcast that's getting ready to launch. I just got final approval to start that. And so hopefully we're going to start recording we will start recording in April and hopefully launch that by May. And if you have any questions regarding mental health in Silicon Slopes, that's our new email, mentalhealth@siliconslopes.com. That goes directly to me, and I can answer your questions from there. So without further ado, I will turn the time over to Kirk. Kirk, I don't have a bio or anything, so please feel free to introduce yourself. Thank you.
Can I use the clicker? Yes. Awesome. So, super cool to be here with you. Start with just a little bit of a story first. I was sitting in my office downstairs in our home, and I had heard the kids upstairs playing in the kitchen, making messes, dumping the Legos out, and I had 3 young boys, and they're up there making a big mess in the living room. And I could hear them down the stairs, with all their clanking and all their noises and everything like that. And as I'm sitting in my office doing some work, I heard the noises change, like, oh, they're doing something different now. And I don't think much of it, and I'm going along working, and then I couldn't hear any noise going on with 3 boys. But every once in a while, I'd hear a thump on the floor or a bump or something like that, and I thought, oh, they're fine, they're totally fine. Well, while I was sitting at my desk, I felt something. I felt like something was going on. And in that moment, it was like, okay, 3 boys upstairs, something's up, the noises have changed. But I brushed that feeling off. And a couple minutes later, the feeling came back strong again. You need to get upstairs. Go. Like, that's what it felt like. There's some kind of, something happening here. So it sounds like everything's fine. I got just one more thing to finish before I run upstairs. And then literally 2 seconds later, as loud could be, the feeling comes up inside of me, super, super strong, that says, get upstairs right now, go. I literally jump out of my chair, run through the hall, run upstairs, running through the kitchen, and I don't see anything wrong, but I just keep feeling this feeling, run! I run up the stairs, I go to throw open the bathroom door, and just as I grab the door handle, the impression was, stop! And as I opened up the door, there was a power cord plugged in next to the door, and the power cord went over to the tub. And the impression was, grab the power cord, hurry, unplug it. Just as I unplugged it, something crashed in the tub. I open up the door. There's my boys with their Legos, and they had plugged in a light and hung it off of the soap holder above the tub, and it was slipping, and the whole lighting contraption and the electrical cord all fell in the water seconds after I unplugged it. And of course my boys, Dad, you knocked it off. And I'm like, no, I didn't. I just saved your life. And they're like, no, you messed up our Lego battleship war in the tub. And I'm like, my heart is beating so fast, super, super fast in that moment. And it's stories like this where the impressions or the intuition of what's happening, my kids did not understand. They did not understand the trouble they were getting into with what was going on. They had no concept. Their education wasn't there. Their skill wasn't there. They thought it was okay to plug a cord in, run the extension cord over the top of the tub, put the light on there to shine light on their battleship war in the tub. They did not understand the danger they were in. But I was the one who received the message to do something about it. And so what happened is my sixth sense, or my gut feeling, saved their life. Now, on a religious background, we can say, oh, maybe that was God prompting you, or a source prompting you, or the universe prompting you. But what if I was not in a position to receive that message? What if I wasn't able to be in tune, or my gut feeling wasn't in such a good place? And so we have senses. We have all these senses we use every single day, and everything we do. We have our sight, our hearing, our touch, our taste, all these senses to keep us alive, keep us in the right position all the time. But 18 years ago, when I started teaching a small little group of people how important it was, this is 18 years ago, I'm teaching people we have to increase your intuition, your sixth sense, your gut feeling, so you can be better at helping others who don't see the danger they're in. We as an individual have a power of intuition or a sixth sense. And this sixth sense could be called all different kinds of things. Sometimes the sixth sense is called you're an empath or you're an intuitive. And people come up with a bunch of odd names about what to call this. I just call it the power of knowing. The power of knowing what you're in your life and what dangers you're facing. And can I sense that so that I could unplug the cord before you get hurt? And so for 18 years, I've been teaching classes and seminars to help people do the adjustments and the changing on the inside so that their sixth sense is better. And I don't care what background you are, what religion you are, what culture you are, every human being has a sixth sense. But here's the problem, though, is that people are not actually working on it. They're not working on their sixth sense. They're working on making money to pay their bills, make sure they have groceries, make sure dinner's on time, make sure they don't yell at their kids, make sure the house is clean. But I hardly ever meet people who are actually working on their sixth sense. Like they're trying to be able to perceive people and the challenge that they're facing. The sixth sense is not reserved for only certain people. It's for people who care deeply, to be able to have that ability to look past their appearance and look into their space and feel and sense what is really going on. Every mother has sixth sense. I mean, try to lie to your mom. I mean, you're just busted, right? Try to lie to your dad. They're going to bust you. But they get it. But where do people actually start working on this so it actually can be better? Now, on the outside of every person, we have this personal space. It's about fingertip away from our body. There's this space, and it's full of information. Everything you think, everything you feel, everything you've experienced is inside that space. It is information. Information is not just in computers or on websites or in books. We are a walking being of information. And anybody can learn how to read that information so that you can be better at helping people with their challenges. So my movement is, let's be the kind of people who actually work on our sixth sense so that we can be more perceptive of really what's going on with that child, what's really going on with that person, so that we can be better humans because we're so in tune to people's space around them. So this is not like some woo-woo thing. It's real. You could be standing in a room and somebody walks in and you can feel their information come with them. Their energy, their vibe. Let's just call it information. It's information. Now, I'm a body language expert, and so part of being a body language expert is I can read the physical movements of a person to understand their thoughts, their feelings, and their history. Because it shows up in their movements. Because everything we think and feel in all of our history is not locked inside of our body. It's on the outside of the body. It's on every move. It's all in everything we do. And it's also around us. So my move is to teach people how to do this, how to be more in tune. And I have something here I'm going to help you with to be able to do this. Now, what blocks this intuition or this sixth sense is harbored feelings. When we have harbored feelings towards another person, it cuts down our sixth sense. We go from 100% ability down to 99, down to 98, and it just continues to drop with every hard feeling, every difficult feeling we have about another human being. Because when we have hard feelings towards people, we lose the connection we have with people. Now, most people don't understand this. They don't understand that these feelings we harbor inside literally shut down our ability to read people, to understand people. So my movement is to bring to the table, as an individual, how can I unload these feelings so my sixth sense can be better? For safety, for information, for better connection with my kids. What if I meet somebody I've never met before? Can I get a quick, accurate read on them? And if they got something dangerous like a power cord going across their tub and they're about ready to die, I'm going to reach into their life and go, you know what? We got to talk. I see something. I hear something. We got to talk right now. I will never forget the day I was walking through the store, and this guy was walking towards me, and I stopped him. And I looked at him and I said, "Don't do it today. Don't." And he backed up and he goes, "What are you talking about?" I said, "Don't leave the planet today." And he just, in awe, he's like, "How did you know?" I go, it's all around you. Today's your last day. You're choosing today to be your last day, and you're at the store, and I go, "Don't. I see you. I hear you. I feel you. You hurt. And I don't know who you are." And I reached down, and I grabbed his hand, and I'm like holding on his hand, and he's just like going like, "Who is this weirdo?" He goes, "Are you a medium?" I go, "No, my name's Kirk." I'm a Kirk. That's all I am. I'm just a Kirk. I'm a Kirk. I'm a human. I care about humans, and so I really practice hard to see into people's spaces, and I can see something's up, and I could just see that he had this power cord across the tub, and he could get hurt. And I'm like, "Don't do it. Just know that I love you, and I don't know what your name is, but I just love you. And just don't." And he just stood there. And I go, "Are you okay?" And he's like, "I was hoping that somebody would recognize me. Somebody would care. That somebody could actually feel that I hurt." And he goes, "I don't know what you did to get where you're at, but you just did something." And so I put on the table that I'm going to keep working on clearing my feelings that I have towards people, my hard feelings, my irritation, my frustration, my discouragement I have with people, because I got to get that out of my body so I can be super connected to people. At any time, anywhere, on a phone call, on a Zoom call, in person. I've even been laying in bed before and check my neighbors. Don't tell them I do this, but I check my neighbors. And I'm like, "Is everybody okay?" And then when I hear they're not okay, is it okay if I wait till church on Sunday and I can go see them? It's like, yeah, it's okay. But I'm checking all the time because people don't understand the danger that they're in, and they don't know how slippery it is, and they don't know where the edge is. But I got to be a better human being. So what I do is I teach people how to remove these emotions so that we can have better connections with people. And so here's my 3 things I would suggest as a human being to consider. Is number 1, find expression work where you can express your feelings or thoughts. There's books, there's great people up here, there's great people everywhere that'll teach you how to express your emotions to get them off of you so your 6th sense can work better. Number 2, have a book you're reading about forgiveness all the time. And as soon as you finish that book, get another one, get another one. But look up the topic forgiveness and at least read 1 paragraph about forgiveness a day. We are terrible as human beings with forgiveness. It's something we need to study and try to master. Maybe 100 years we'll figure it out. But every day try to work on forgiveness so we can clear our heart, so we can be in tune with people. And then number 3, look inside people. Don't just look at their skin. Don't just look at the outside. Practice looking around them and asking yourself, is there anything in their space or their life that I could help them with that might be pushing them to the edge today? Because even though they look good, it doesn't mean they're okay. It doesn't mean they're okay. Now, to help you out, here's a QR code. This is a very raw video that I made for a friend. And I was explaining to the friend, okay, here's an emotion inside your body, and this is how you get it out of the way so you can be better connected to your kids. And so this is a very raw video. It has been, my YouTube editor then made it a little bit better because I was kind of boring in some spots. And so he made it so it was a little bit less boring because there was a lot of information. But if you'd like some support on techniques of how to remove those emotions, you're welcome to scan that code, get that video, watch the video, and then actually practice it. But if you don't want to do any of this, just at the end of the day, when you're next to your bed, hopefully you pray, because the nation needs prayers and the children need prayers. At the end of the day, please pray that you can be forgiven for any hard feelings you felt during the day. And hopefully that'll be cleared off your chest, so tomorrow you can be super connected to people. My name's Kirk. Thank you for letting me be here, and let's do some good in the world.
That was amazing. My name's Richard Godfrey. I work with Brandy. Brandy's giving an award, an ambassador award right now, and so she's going to join us later. So she'll talk all about Promise to Live. Oh, sorry. She'll come and talk to us about Promise to Live. She said, well, just give them the thumbnail. Those of you who know Brandy know we're not giving you a thumbnail of Brandy. So she'll be back in just a little bit. I'm going to change up my presentation list just a little bit. The first thing I need to do, I've been going to conferences, giving talks for decades, and I've never had the experience I had today. Blaze, come here. Right here. Okay, now if you don't, so there's 3 things you need to make sure you take away from today, in addition to this amazing message. One is, if you do not yet have your coin, your Promise to Live coin, make sure you get one. Brandy will talk about that. Number 2, I've got a short handout for you that I think you received when you come in, but the most important thing you will take away today is your name tag. These are the most awesome name tags ever created, Blaze. Thank you. Seriously, I just usually throw these things away. I'll never throw this one away. I'm here, as all of us are here, to talk about connection today. Before I do that, let me tell you about a new, I guess the best way to say is it's a service that Promise to Live is launching. And it is our Promise to Live brown bags. One of the things that we've had is, as we've done these events, people have said, how do we get more information about this stuff? So we are launching Promise to Live brown bags. Here's how it works. We will send a person on our team with one of these core messages to your organization at absolutely no cost or obligation to do a 45-minute brown bag with your team. There's only 2 criteria. Number 1, it's got to be within an hour of this building. So let's say Brigham City to Nephi. And number 2, we are doing 6 a month. So this is a first come, first serve. If you like what you hear at these events from any of our speakers, we're starting with Connection as our first offering. There will be more to come. But if you would like us to come in, no cost or obligation, and expand on the topic of today, you need to reach out to either Sean, where are you? Sean, or Brandy, and we'll be there, because we want to make sure that we are doing everything in our power to help you. I was going to start today talking about Heather, my wife, and I's experience with handicapped elephants in Cambodia and the connection experience we have had with them. But this was so amazing that I have to talk about a connection experience I had with exactly what you talked about. By the way, you know what's great? If I keep my back to him, he can't read all my micro behaviors. So if you want to know about our experience in Cambodia, learning to connect to elephants, it's on techbuzz.news, that particular story. But let me tell you something I learned to practice a long time ago that builds on exactly what you talked about, that I think is a great way to start. If you have this card in front of you, these are what we call the 7 connection promises. The first promise is the promise to live, which Brandy will come in and review in just a few minutes. So I'm just going to put that one out there, but leave it in her very capable hands. This is her life's work. The second promise is the promise to connect. Here's something I learned to do some time ago. If you're out in public, so if you're at a mall, or you're in a park, or you're in an airport, do something that's a little weird, but it's very, very powerful. And that is, look the next 10 people you pass by in the eye. Just look at them. And here's my experience. When you make that visual connection with someone, you will see, whether it's micro behavior or whether it's energy we give off, you will have impressions as to whether that person's having a good day, a bad day, or whatever. And if you do nothing more than just send something up into the heavens and say, help them have a better day. There is power in connection. Remote connection through social media has been proven useful, but it is not as useful as actual physical connection. We need to do what we're doing today. We need to get out and meet each other. So the first promise we ask you to make is the promise to live, which Brandy will talk about. The second one is make a promise to connect, which means if you haven't gone out recently and interacted with people, even if it's one people, go out and interact with someone because it is imperative to our mental health. Number 3 in this list is find 2 with spaces. With the exception of the first item on the list, all of these ideas are from a book I wrote recently called Connection Cures Contention. And we talk about the idea of with spaces. So let me share with you a visual image of what a with space might be. Actually, I'll just put the list up here. Imagine 2 circles. One represents me, and one represents you. Now, we met very, very, very briefly at 11 o'clock when we both discovered we didn't need to be here till 12. Now, you are one circle, I am one circle. When we meet, we have an opportunity to connect, just like a Venn diagram. And the degree to which we are willing to invest in each other is the degree to which those 2 circles overlap and start to create some degree of connection. So even in that, 20 seconds that you and I shared, we made a connection. That's what a with space is. A with space is simply the 1, desire to connect, and 2, the effort to make a connection. If it's nothing more than to say, you honestly look as lost as I am. It starts at noon. With spaces are the opposite of isolation at one end and cancellation at the other end. Right now we have 2 phenomena in our culture generally. One is a phenomena of intentional or unintentional isolation. People not interacting with each other for whatever reason. And that's devastating to our mental health. The other is cancellation. And cancellation is based on the premise that if you and I aren't exactly aligned in everything, so we have to have the same political beliefs, the same social beliefs, obviously we can't connect because I'm like a boomer and you're not. That's right. Cancel culture is based on the premise that if the 2 circles can't be perfect matches, then the 2 circles ought to have nothing to do with each other. I call nonsense on that. All we need in order to connect is something we are willing to work on. And if there's nothing else available to us, there's always one, and that is you and I are both human beings. And if that's all we have, let's find a way to connect that way. So promise to live. Second, promise to connect. Third, promise to find 2 with spaces. Now, these could be 2 people or groups with whom you have a connection where you want to improve or increase that connection. Like if you have teenagers, I've raised teenagers, you can physically live in the same environment and not connect to them. That's their preference. Maybe you go down and you say, I would like to talk a little bit. That will freak them out. But I think it's important. Number 4, promise to get 1 values connection. In our businesses, in our organizations, we talk a lot about these terms, mission, vision, values. And to be honest, I don't have a clue what they mean, and I don't care. I care about values, and I care about a definition I was given for values a long time ago. My good friend and business partner for many years, Hiram Smith, had a very simple definition for values. He said, your values are what matters most. So when I say we need to get a values connection with at least one other person, what that means is we need to find out what matters most to her or him, and find one thing that matters most to us and see if we can connect around that. Once again, we don't have to have the exact same values. We just need one. We have dinner parties at our house, and one of the things that we do so that people will get talking is on name cards that are at your place, and we do that so you don't sit next to your spouse the whole night. On the inside of the name card is the question of the night. And one of our favorite questions of the night is this: if you could select one and only one characteristic in your children's future partner or spouse, what would that one be? People hate the one thing because they always come up with like 3 or 4. Well, I wish they would be this. I said, which part of one thing don't you get? Now let me put it out to you, because it's really more obvious than you would think. Once you get people to be forced to pick one, what do you think is the one thing most people most often select? It's a form of a value, something that matters most, in their child's future partner or spouse. If they had to only pick one, what do you think? Shout them out. Patience, love. Sorry? Love. The number one that comes up is kindness. If whoever he or she is, if they would just be kind, that would make all of the difference. That's an example of a values connection. That says, what matters most to me is kindness. What matters most to you is kindness. Let's connect around that one thing. You'll notice a pattern here, by the way. In order to connect with people, you don't have to be a perfect match. You just have to find one with space, one values connection. Next one, promise to invest in positive pulls and pushes. In every relationship that we have, we are intentionally or unintentionally either pushing people away from us or pulling people toward us. So, for example, I was just on a conference call today with a client in DC, and they were talking about how they were going to start enforcing their return to work policy. Now, they had done multiple surveys and had everybody's input on this, and basically what they said is, thanks for your input, you will be in 4 days a week, starting next week. Now, whether that's a good idea or not is another discussion, but I will tell you what it is in the moment. It's a push. You could feel the energy on the call, people feeling pushed away, going, wait a minute, that's not what I signed up for. I don't think you're sensitive to me. I don't think you understand me. I'm going to start looking elsewhere. And like I said, I'm not saying that whether you should be in the office 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever it is. I'm saying that that's what we call a connection push. Now, a connection pull is when you do something that makes a person want to remain connected, want to remain part of the organization, want to remain part of the family. Too often, we are engaged in unintentional pushes and pulls, which means we are causing damage unintentionally. And sometimes we're getting it right, but because it's unintentional, we can't repeat it because we don't know why she loves to work here so much. So when we talk about the idea of investing in positive pulls and pushes, look at the relationships in your life, look at the people or groups with whom you want to be connected and say, what am I doing, or if I'm an organization, what are we doing to pull people toward us? And what are we doing to push people away? And then begin to manage that process more intentionally. Promise to activate 1B. I believe that there are 4 behaviors that we need to, if not change, substantially modify in order to connect better with people. We have got to learn to talk with people rather than talk at people. I was raised in a world that was almost exclusively talk at. Therefore, I am predisposed, unless I'm paying attention to my behavior, to talk at people. That doesn't show that people are valued. Talking with people is based in the first B, which is be curious. In all your relationships, personal or professional, be sincerely curious. And how do you do that? You talk with rather than talk at. Most people need to be heard. They don't need to be fixed, at least by me. I have a simple rule. There's only two kinds of people in this world. There's no science behind this, all these PhDs. No science behind this, but it's correct. Screwed up people who aren't yet ready to talk about it, and screwed up people who are ready to talk about it. No such thing as not screwed up. We're all screwed up. And in some parts of my life, I'm ready to talk about it. In other parts of my life, I'm not ready to talk about it. Talking with you rather than at you creates an environment where you might be ready to say, hey, can we talk about how screwed up I am? And I'd be like, only if we can talk about how screwed up I am. And then we can make a connection. Next is work with rather than work on. This is the premise of being available. We focus so much on efficiency in work that what we tend to do is drop work and say, here's what I need. Let me know when you're done. Now that's a part of real work, but it's not the most powerful part of real work. The most powerful part of real work is there's a million things I need to do right now. There's a million things you need to do right now, but let's step back and let's do this together. This is actually what things like mentoring, coaching, parenting, all of those kind of things actually mean when you get past all the clutter. They just mean be available. Third thing is build with. Tech has mastered build for. Build for is a very powerful idea. It basically says, I have a vision. Here are some options. Let's make my vision successful and you can participate. Nothing wrong with that, except that it leaves out one powerful connection opportunity. Build with says, here's my vision. You're incredibly talented, incredibly high in EQ. Tell me how to make my vision and your vision a better vision together. Talk with, work with, build with, and finally walk with. Walk with is the idea that you're doing nobody any favor by getting too far ahead of them or by going so slowly that you're dragging them like they're dragging a dead weight. I'm terrible at this in the real world. I'm not tall, but compared to my wife, I'm tall. Heather's like 5 feet on a good day. And when we're walking, I always end up half a block ahead of her. Now, I love her deeply. I convinced her when we were 13 that I was the guy. I've been chasing her for 52 years, counting those few starting at the age of 13. So it's not that I don't care about her. It's not that I don't love her. It's just she walks too dang slow. Be linked says the relationship matters more to me than the pace. And that could be the literal pace of walking down the sidewalk, or that could be the pace of chasing my dreams or chasing my career or whatever. If you care about someone, make that relationship more important than the pace you're trying to run your life. Be curious, be available, be creative, be linked. Walk with, talk with, work with, build with. And then finally, promise to live the Penguin Highway principle. Heather and I have had the opportunity to go to all 7 continents. We've been to over 100 countries. We've met all kinds of cool people, but penguins are cooler than people. For those of you who are worried about the loss of wildlife on the planet, it's a legitimate concern, but it should not include penguins. we are not going to run out of penguins anytime soon. I have been on single islands in the Antarctic. One colony has over 5 million penguins in it. The penguins are doing well. Now, every other continent on the Earth has permanent settlements. The Antarctic doesn't, except for a few research stations. And so what you have to understand is, when you go to the Antarctic, you are the guests of the penguins. Now, with the exception of emperor penguins, which are about this tall, yeah, they're about 5 foot tall. They're huge. Most penguins are about this tall. They're little tiny things. And the snow is deeper than the penguin. And so if the penguin falls through the snow, the penguin's done. Have you seen their little arms? They can't get out, and their friends can't get them out. So they build these things called penguin highways, where they stomp down the snow so that they don't fall through and die. And there's only one rule when you go to the Antarctic, and that is don't walk on the penguin highways. Because clearly, I'm fatter than the average penguin. And although they've stomped the snow down enough, they don't fall through. If I walk on it, I'll fall through, and then they have a problem. This is a very basic connection premise, the penguin highway premise, and it works like this. Wherever Heather and I travel, when we meet the first cab driver or whoever, we always have 2 questions. Question number 1, what does your culture find sacred or significant? And number 2, how do we show proper respect? The rule of the penguin highway is, if you want to connect, start with respect. Thank you for your time today. The boss is here. Bring it on up, Brandy. Here's who we really came for.
Thank you so much. How are you guys? It's good to see you. I just got off of a call with the Entertainment Industry Council, and I was actually on a panel. This is a national panel, and we were talking about words matter, safe messaging, how we can share stories and information and things without causing more harm. So, how'd you think we did today? Pretty good, huh? Did you guys learn a few things? Yes. Yeah? Awesome. I sure appreciate you coming out. The reason we do these is I'm seeing quite a few new faces, I guess. Who's new? Who hasn't been here? Wow. Thank you for coming. So I'm Brandy Vega. I created Good Deed Revolution and Promise2Live as our campaign. I started Promise2Live because I almost lost my daughter to suicide. Not once, but twice. And the first time we didn't talk about it because I didn't have the words, because there was too much stigma, because I didn't know how to connect and I didn't know how to have the conversations, and I was so afraid that we just buried it and we carried it for 2 years, all this heavy pain. Has anyone had to do that? Have you felt like you couldn't speak openly about the trials you're going through? I think a lot of us have gone through that. When it happened the second time, I knew I couldn't do the same thing and expect a different result. We know that's the definition of insanity, right? So the second time, as I was in the hospital praying for my daughter to live, praying that I would do anything in the world if I just get one more chance, because we didn't know for almost 2 days if she was going to survive, and if she survived, if she'd have long-term disabilities and problems. And as a parent, I was desperate. And I went back because I had volunteered at IHC. I volunteered at Intermountain Hospital. I did Nobody Dies Alone for 7 years. I did spiritual care for 7 years. I volunteered, and I would sit with people. None of us came into this world alone. None of us should go out alone. And so I sat with lots of families, and some of the people I sat with had long-term disabilities. Other people had overdosed or had a suicide attempt or something. And often I was there for the families. And 7 years of doing that. And then I found myself at the hospital there with my kid, thinking, how could this even be? How are we in this situation? Just praying my heart out. I'll do anything, anything. Just give me one more chance. And I got to my car, and the doctors and nurses, some of you have heard this story, but I just want to set up why I do this, why this matters. So the second day I come back, and she's still, we're still not entirely sure what's going to happen. I did a video on my personal Facebook, and I just said, I need help. I don't know what to do. And it went viral. 12,000 views overnight, hundreds of messages, and people reaching out. And my friends at KSL asked me to talk about it, and I said, no. No. I've got news for you. If you think I love being on this stage talking about suicide prevention and mental health, you're wrong. If you think I wanted to be the voice for this, you're wrong. This was not anything I desired to do, but I'm doing it because I got that second chance I prayed for. I'm doing it because my child is graduating in May, a year early, and going to college, and I'm so proud of her. I'm so proud of her. I'm so thankful for the opportunity that I have, because I know that there's people in this room and people that are watching that they didn't get the second chance. Promise to Live is our second chance. Promise to Live is this. This is the foundation of the work we do. We're asking everyone right now to make the promise to live. What does that mean? That means you're going to promise right now, and will you guys do this with me? Promise that if you're struggling, or even if you're not struggling right now, promise if you find yourself in that dark place, in the depths of despair, that you're going to reach out to someone, to anyone, to a friend, to a family member, to a trusted resource like NAMI. Benet over here, who represents NAMI, what a great organization. AFSP, Live On, Jed, Trevor, there's tons of amazing organizations out there doing incredible work, but I didn't know about them, and chances are pretty good you might not either. So we want you to make the promise now, and if you would be so bold, will you guys do that with me right now? Will you just kind of look me in the eye and just make the promise? Let's all do it together. I promise. I promise to live. I promise to reach out for help if I'm struggling. Thank you. There's studies out there, and they're not directly related to suicide, and I'm not trying to say they are, but there are studies out there regarding our human behavior around the power of a promise. When we make a promise ahead of time, when we give our word, when we commit to something, there's studies that say we're way more likely to keep it. I want you guys to promise to reach out. That is the foundation. These are tools, these are resources, these are things we need. We were so lucky last month to hear from Tom. And Tom talked to us, and you guys remember what he was talking about, right? So now we're talking about connections, and now next month, mark your calendars already, April 24th, we're gonna talk about conversations. And we've got our speaker right over here. You wanna raise your hand? We have Cameron McBride from Blomquist Hill, and they provide solutions in mental health for a lot of people. And he's gonna talk to us about how do we have these conversations. We teamed up to do a deal with MTV for their Mental Health Action Day, which is May 26th. And they've come out with a new thing, and it's called Ask. A-S-K. Ask. Acknowledge. Support. Keep in touch. Ask. If somebody's struggling, ask. If you're struggling, ask. We all need to be acknowledged. Acknowledge that there's a problem. Acknowledge that it's okay for us to talk about it. Acknowledge that this is okay. Mental health is health. Right? Can I get it all right? I heard you guys clapping really big time when I was in my room doing the recording for these guys. It must have been really good. It was really good. Thank you. Thank you for being here. But mental health is health. And so we want to ask, acknowledge, support, keep in touch. This is keeping in touch. This is connection. Nobody has to have a doctorate to make a difference. I sure as heck don't. but I do have a degree in giving a care. And I care for you guys. I care that you're here. I care that you live. I care that you know you're not alone and that we matter. I want to talk briefly about the pocket hug, which I left over here. Who was here last week or last month and got the pocket hug and the letter? Does anyone want to just share maybe what that meant to them? Was there anyone that really had an experience and wants to share that feeling? Not all at once. Yeah.
Well, it wasn't for myself, but I took it and I was like, I need to give this to this friend of mine because I know he's someone who does really struggle, and he struggles to reach out or ask for help or respond. And I was like, I need him to have that. And like, it just, I read it, and it's such a thing. Like, I want people to have something like that to hold on to for when I can't be there for them or when they won't reach out. So I just thought it was incredible.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yeah, Brenda, come get a mic because we want to record it. We want to be able to hear it. And come up on stage so they can see you. Brenda Bedridge, she's on my advisory team. She's obviously works for the University of Utah. No, I'm just kidding.
Doing she-tech today, so we have to rep, you know.
Look amazing. UVU.
Okay, so this is from somebody who was here last month, and she posted this on LinkedIn. And she said, wow, I wasn't expecting to cry on a regular Thursday, but there I was. So many emotions felt after I read the handwritten letter that was meant just for me. So grateful I got the chance to attend. The letter was not written with her in mind, but it went into the right hands.
Thank you. Why do we write the letters? I've written hundreds in the last few months, and every time I sit there and write, you are loved, you are seen, the world's brighter and better because you exist. I'm writing that for you and for the people out in the world who've maybe never even heard that. The people who don't feel that, the people who don't know it, the people who need a reminder. But as I write it every time, who am I reminding? Me. These have been so good for me. And you guys probably saw my cute little boy back there, Blaze. Did everybody get to meet Blaze? Say hi. This is my little guy. He's got a lot of energy. He's 6. I have a 22-year-old almost and a 6-year-old. It's great. I adopted him through foster care. I love foster care and adoption, by the way. So we've been working with him to say that I am. I'm kind, I'm loved, I'm loving, I'm smart, I'm talented, I'm worth it. I hope you guys will take some of these I am words. Now, we didn't give out all the cards because you know what? We need volunteers to help write them. Turns out I'm running a few companies and can't write all the letters. So if any of you are interested in helping us write these letters that we can give out at events like this, that we include one of the pocket hug coins. So if you haven't seen this, these are the coins we put together. And it says on the back, when times are tough and you don't know what to do, here's a hug from me to you. Call or text 988 if you're struggling. That's what it says on here. And on the front, it has the website. It says Promise2Live, and it has our website. And on our website, we have resources like NAMI, 988, AFSP, and all these groups, because we want people to not only have a reminder and a token of our love for them that they can carry in their pocket, in their heart, in their bag, in their wallet, whatever it is. We want them to also have resources in their hand. So we're working with other companies who are getting involved. They want to give these out to their employees. If you have a company, if you have a network, if you have friends, if you have families, we're getting these in bulk. We have some. Get these and give these out. This is a token that you can give out to anyone at any time, anywhere. And when we talk about connection, it's often just looking outside of ourselves. I mean, we're all guilty of being on our phone and being consumed in our own thing, but I promise you, if you're feeling down, look around and look for somebody to connect with. Look for somebody to give one of these to, and just give it to them and say, you know what? I thought you might want this, and I hope you know that you're awesome. Have a great day. So if any of this resonates with you guys and you want to help write letters, if you want to do coins, if you want to bring it into your work, if you want to talk about connection, we're putting together connection in the workplace, some lunch and learns. We do these monthly. We want you guys here. And before I wrap up, I just want to share one last quick thing. This work gets hard and heavy. Every day you talk about it. Those who work in it, those who've struggled, you know, it can be painful to keep ripping open a wound. I get up on stage and I tell you about the worst day of my life. Every time. Scars heal because you stop touching them. You stop messing with them. I get up here every single time, and people who do this, and I pick away the scab. And sometimes it bleeds, and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it hurts, and I feel it all over again, and sometimes I realize that I'm working through it. I can just share the message. My husband knows. He's so good to me. I couldn't do this work without Adam. If you guys don't know him, he's the best. Give him a round of applause. I love this guy, and so does everyone else. We did our retreat, and everybody wanted to sit by him. I'm going to auction him off to raise money for the nonprofit. So it's hard at times. It's hard for all of us, but it's hard too. And I had a friend who doesn't even know me that well. She sent me a card, kind of like the letter you guys got, that said, Brandy, sometimes the givers are the ones that need to be given. If nobody's told you lately, you're awesome. You're doing great things. You matter. And she sent me this generic pocket hug. And I had never even seen one. Have you guys seen a pocket hug before? Do you know what they are? I hadn't either. So I get this generic little pocket hug, and I read it, and it had a similar message on the back, and it just said pocket hug on the front. And I thought, she doesn't even know me that well, but I felt seen because somebody cared enough about me to send me a letter. Who sends letters anymore? Who takes the time to write a letter? But she sent one to me. And I put it in my coat pocket. And I carried it around. And every time I put my hand in there, I felt it, and I was like, I'm loved. This is awesome. Somebody cares about me. Oh, I got a hug, you know, and I would just rub it in my fingers, and I thought that was so cool. Then my friend's son died. Intentional overdose. And I got asked to speak at his funeral. And I went to the funeral, and his mom's very sad and struggling. And I'm fidgeting in my pocket because I needed comfort. And what do you think I found in there? I found my pocket hug. And I thought, I can do this, I can do this. And I'm rubbing it in my hand, and I'm talking to her about the second child she's burying, the second funeral I've spoke at. She's lost 2 out of her 3 kids. And I got to give her words of encouragement, and who am I? And I pulled that pocket hug out of my pocket, and I said, you need this. And I gave it to her. And it meant the world. And she held it, and she put it in her pocket. And she messaged me the next day. And she said, you're never going to believe this little pocket hug. Messages from heaven, right? Who believes in pennies and coins from heaven? So she said she's doing dishes at midnight, the day of her son's funeral. She had the pocket hug in her pocket. And all of a sudden, she heard a clank in the floor. And she hollered at her husband. And he came running in there. And it was on their hardwood floor. And it wasn't this coin, but it was one like it. And she heard this. And when they went in there, her and her husband, who don't have strong beliefs, saw the coin. And they said, not only did you give us peace and comfort, but we felt like our son Nick gave us a message in the middle of the night, letting us know that he is here, because that coin somehow made it from my coat hanging up to the middle of the floor and did this for both of us to come and see. That moment and that original pocket hug created this. And this has the power to create that for so many people. So thank you guys for coming. I don't want to belabor any points. I think we do have just a couple minutes. Do we have a few minutes? Did any of you guys have questions for our amazing panelists? Again, not all at once. How was the food? It was good, right? Okay. Did you have any final comments you'd like to leave with after you guys heard each other speak? Did you have anything closing remarks you wanted to leave? We have a question. Where? Oh, okay. Hold on, Julie. You need a mic. Oh, Mike. Aw.
I do have a mic. Okay.
Dad jokes.
I think that was cute.
It was cute.
It was cute. Okay, so Richard, you had up there, and it said you had the word positive, push, and pull. So what's a positive push? Because I can see the positive pull, you want to bring people in, and then we push away. So is there a positive push?
Yeah. Here's how I learned to swim, right? They bring you to the edge of the pool. You're about this tall. And now remember, I'm from a generation that was not quite as sensitive as it is now. So there wasn't a parent out here treading water saying, you'll be fine. My dad just pushed me. And I went down and I came back up, and it's been good ever since. So sometimes you're pushing people when you know better than they know that they're ready to take the next step, that they're ready to take on the challenge. I mean, how many times does this happen, right? Where they don't know what we intuitively know about them, which is, you got this.
Okay. Any other questions? Yes, Tom. Hold on. We gotta be able to hear it because we're recording this. So I know we can hear in here, but our recording. Nice.
Hey, Kirk. Tom Telford. I employ mental health professionals. So I've had the opportunity to spend several years, including being married to one. My wife is a therapist. When you spoke of perceiving, I don't know if you can, expound on that a little bit, but it seems to me that as I have spent years getting to know therapists and mental health professionals, that they have a gift. And this gift that they have continually amazes me. Would you describe that as that ability, the perception ability?
Yes. And over the last, 18, 19 years and all the classes that because at one point I was doing like live seminars every month for like 15 years and here in Salt Lake. And we'd have on an average of 800 to 1,000 people at every single one of those seminars. So I met people from all different industries. And it's incredible to hear the gifts and talents that people have. Like what they have, like what they're born with, what they've developed, what their interests are. And you are calling it out like they have this type of way about them, that perception about them. And what's beautiful is when that person is using that, right, in their profession or in their life, but also to see them expand it. Because there's knowledge, like we all can learn and we can take classes, we can learn from other people, but then there's that ability to search even deeper or even become more accurate in what they're doing. But yes, that's exactly what you're talking about. And I really believe everybody has it. Everybody has it, but not everybody knows how to use it. But that's what I hope that every person could actually find that they have.
Yeah. It seems that, and you mentioned it, that women, mothers, kind of have this trait more than, men do. I'm not necessarily sure that that's accurate. I've seen many men who have the incredible ability, but Richard alluded to this. He said, the relationship matters more than the pace. I'm such a pace guy, right? Even last night, I remember, chatting with my teenage son, and I remember thinking, how do we speed this conversation up? I got stuff to do. Right? And so I don't have this gift naturally. How do we get better? How do those who don't have this gift get better at it?
I think number one is, what's the purpose of having the gift? I think if a person were to look at the last 3 months and look at the casualties, look at where a relationship's not going well, or where maybe you missed a deadline or you missed an opportunity, or you didn't follow that intuition and you missed out. I think we don't really try to get better in these particular gifted areas unless we actually see the costs and the losses. And part of the people that I work with and I coach is I take them through that cost list first, you know, because they're like, oh, it'd be great to be better, but why? I have a cell phone. I have this. Everything's good. But as soon as they start to see what they've missed, and it heightens their attention, like, wow, this could be better if I paid attention just a little bit more. And so it's not like a gloom and doom type of search, but a realization that we actually do miss things. We can miss out at perceiving our child. We can miss out and perceiving our spouse. Like my wife, she's here with me, she's right over here, and I adore her. And it is my game every day to figure her out, right? Like it is like, wow, she is such an interesting, beautiful creature. And I just want to like know her gifts and talents and know how she ticks. And every person I meet is just such a beautiful creation. I want to help that beautiful creation live its full vitality. And that's what drives me every day to help people with their gifts, is because it's like, if you could see what's right here. And so I think that even though no matter what status we're at, I think there's always that next little step to reach for, but there has to be that reason to do it. And I don't like losing. I like living well, and I like doing everything to work well. And I also love the feeling of happiness. And to me, a person is happy when they are living who they are. And but not everybody's ready, but when they are ready and they see that there is a possibility of doing a little bit better, if we actually want it during the day, like if you or I or anybody in the room woke up wanting to see more of the person, what we truly, deeply desire is unveiled to us. There's an unveiling, but we gotta want that. And I've just seen people from all walks of life increase their gift, their ability, and it changes them as a person. Like they just can't shut up about it. They're just like, oh my gosh, I gotta tell everybody, can you see this? And they just get so excited when they have that next unveiling happen, because you don't go back. Once your eyes open up a little bit more, it's such a beautiful thing, but it truly is driven by a want, a reason. And usually it's for a person. You know, you want to help somebody or there's a purpose behind it. But that desire and want, I feel like, really fuels it.
Just to piggyback on that, Tom, you know this as well as anyone, your brain will adapt to anything that you practice over and over and over again, right? And I think sometimes we get stuck in this perception and we say, well, I don't have that gift, therefore I can't really develop that. And that's fundamentally untrue. We can develop anything we want. We just have to do it over and over and over and over and over again. There's a story of a man who lived here in Utah many years ago who was, his handwriting was terrible. He said it looked like hand scratch, and no one could read it. He decided that he wanted to become a better handwriter, and he did, and he practiced over and over and over again. He ended up winning penmanship contests. This was back when they had penmanship contests years and years ago, and decades ago. And you could argue that that man was not born with the gift of good handwriting. Some people are, and they can refine that. I think the best victories are the ones where we start at a deficit and actually achieve the gold medal from there, as opposed to starting at bronze. You know, like as a psychologist, I do have a natural gift to be able to communicate with people. It's probably what drove me into the profession in the first place. So I've probably gone from bronze to silver in that area. It's a much bigger win if I go from someplace where I just had nothing to start with. And so I think just not limiting ourselves by saying, well, I just don't have that gift. You may not have that gift, but I think anything that you want is achievable through practice.
Can I piggyback on that?
Piggyback
Okay,
away.
first of all, I don't have a PhD, but I have to correct this. You cannot achieve anything you want to. I would like to have hair.
Yes, you can.
It is
There's
clearly.
transplants.
It is.
I'm just saying, I'd like to correct your correction. that There's rugs.
No, I don't
there's
mind being short.
transplants.
I just don't like being bald. To Tom's point, because many of us are here as part of our organizations, it's traditional in organizations, and this is why, could you get to the point, because I've got other things to do, is we're productivity driven. And one of the ways we express that is in what's called a productivity pyramid, which is usually my mission, my vision, my values, my beliefs, my goals, etc. What if we just added another layer to the bottom of the traditional productivity pyramid, and that level was called relationships? In other words, the most important thing is not my values, my goals, my beliefs, it's my relationships. And I'm willing to flex everything at the top of the pyramid to maintain that connection. And I still would like hair.
I'll put you in. I hear there's good things overseas. Ask Bennett. Does anyone else have any questions? Yes. Remind me of your name.
Kate.
Kate.
Yeah, and before my question, I want to do the fourth piggyback on that for all of our fast-paced people. By slowing down and building that connection, you actually, long-term, you get to your vision faster anyway. And so if it's a matter of going quickly, it's the same answer. That relationship, that connection, finding out the real reason behind what they're doing is what's going to get you there anyway. So for everybody left-brained. But my question for you, Kirk, I love that idea that what's in the way of accessing our knowingness, our intuition, is holding on to resentments or pain from other people. Do you think of it in a way that, like, my resentment or pain toward any person is going to hold me back from my connection to you? Or are you talking about specifically person to person, like my past experience with you holds me back from future experience with you? Or is it overarching?
So, my brother, when he was little, my mom had just got done cooking a pot of spaghetti, and he didn't know, and he just wanted a bowl of cereal, so he pulled the chair over, and he stuck his hand on the stove to reach up to get the cereal, and literally imprinted the stove little circle thing on his hand, and it just smelled like burnt brother for like days in the house. It was so bad. It was so bad. From that day forward, he stood 10 feet away from that stove. It hurt. So his senses did not want to connect to that stove. It was a hurtful thing. People are hurtful. The moment we're born, we're spanked. And then we get poked and stabbed, and all these things happen, and shots and needles and all these things. And so our inside of us, and I'm sure they would know the better description of what part of the brain, but I just know that the pain portion decides to file away what it was that hurt. And when you're little, there's two people, mom and dad, male, female, and we're little and we're trying to figure out life. And there's not many other variations, but they're all human. And so we log away our human hurts. And then that then determines our level of connection and depth we go with people. And so that we actually connect with people. And so based upon pain, we are limited to that amount we can see in someone, what we can feel from someone, and what we'll actually share with someone because of that possible pain happening again. But when those pains are found and reconciled and forgiven, and the story is changed in the head, then that ability opens up, and now we can see more, we can feel more, we can hear more, and we can give more, not only when they're standing 3 feet in front of us, but even from long distances. So I believe pain is actually the part that we need to look at and to help alleviate that, and to be able to get better at how we interact with people so we don't have as many pain points coming in inventory. The people I've worked with, when we've lowered the pain connected to people, their natural gifts that they were born with come to the surface that they've never, ever experienced in their entire life. And so their natural abilities to sense, see, feel, hear, and understand intuitively, it's right there on the surface. And it is such a beautiful thing to help a mother connect to her children, to help a father connect to a husband, connect to his wife, an owner to his employees or her employees. But we have to look at the pain points because it will restrict us, just like the burnt stove. And we don't know what's happening. We just find that we struggle, and we don't know why, and why don't people connect to us, and why can't I understand them? But it's all because of that pain behind. And when that's reduced, the ability to perceive and connect increases. And it doesn't matter your education, doesn't matter your culture, doesn't matter anything. It's based upon that pain point.
Love it.
Okay. All right. Thank you guys so much. I think we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. I want to give our speakers another round of applause. I want to applaud each of you as well. Thank you for being here. Thank you for showing up. It's up to us to be the change that we want to see. It's up to us to lead, by example, showing up, by sharing, by doing better when we know better, and all of the things. So if you need help or resources, if you have additional questions, come and see us. I also want to mention, we're starting a new thing. We're going to be doing our Humanitarian of the Month award. And so if you guys have someone in mind in our community, in this space, doesn't matter who they are, but if you know somebody who's really going above and beyond and making a difference, will you email or text me? Every month we want to take just a minute and honor them. And unfortunately, our honoree today is not here. I guess something must have come up. But we really want to take that opportunity to acknowledge people, because there are so many good people doing great things just like you guys. So thank you for being here. Our contact information, get involved, and our next one, mark your calendar, April 24th. Thanks again. Conversations. Yes, thank you.